And now, more You Talk. Now.
Joining me on the show today is a journalist. He's a broadcaster, reporter, and host of a YouTube show called Caden Central. He's a freshman at the University of Redlands, majoring in sports journalism and sports information. He's the voice of the Redlands Football Club, which is a semi-pro soccer team, and various sports on the campus of the University of Redlands. He's just doing some amazing things, and I haven't gotten to the very cool thing. And Caden, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, man. This is so fun. I'm stoked about this show. I'm glad we were able to get you on and fit the schedule around everything. So, all right. You are obviously into sports. So let's start with kind of a basic question. Do you have a favorite sport to watch?
Favorite sports to watch would probably have to be basketball. I find myself watching pretty much every Laker game I can, so I definitely have to say that's my go-to.
A Laker fan as well. Okay, I'll join you on that. I can't say I watch everyone, but I love when I can watch them and when I can go to a game. Okay, what about your favorite sport to play?
To play, probably also basketball, to be honest. I played baseball and soccer as well a little bit, but basketball is the one that I kind of stuck with and went through playing high school. So basketball is just all around my most enjoyable one.
Okay, now, with that in mind, if you could meet any athlete, living or not, who would it be and why?
I think it would have to be Kobe Bryant, probably. Just because growing up, that was like the guy, especially as a Laker fan, you watch him and all his legendary moments. So it would definitely have to be Kobe, rest in peace, because, he was just basketball idol. He was that guy.
He really was. I never had the chance to meet him. We both probably had the chance to see him play. And I'll never forget, I was standing in line with one of the other members of the Utah crew to get into the Grammys.
Oh, wow.
And my phone buzzed, and it was that notification that we lost Kobe, and my heart just sank. It just sank. I said, no, it can't be. We can't lose Kobe. And what a tragic situation. There he is with his little girl, and leaving his wife and his other girls behind. But what a consummate professional. Always working, always improving. He just had that Mamba mentality of keeping, it was just, and it applied to so many other parts of life. I mean, if you take his work ethic, if you take, he seemed to be a great all around guy. He was a leader on the team. He would make some shots, as that you're just like, What just happened? Did he really make that shot? Is he fly? Unbelievable. It just, and he was such a great. He was the LA Lakers at that point in time. That's cool. All right, now, at the age of 5, you started hosting your own YouTube show called Caden Center. I must digress. Okay, I had to reread that in your bio like several times. I went, no, that can't be right. Dude, that is so crazy. 5 years old. I wasn't doing anything like that. And you've interviewed, tons of professionals and celebs. Mike Trout from the LA Angels, Kyrie Irving from the Dallas Mavericks. There's probably a list as long as both your arms. How in the world did you get did you just wake up one morning, you turn 5 and go, I think I'll have my own show on YouTube?
Well, growing up, my entire life has been sports. I love sports, but what really started the Caden Center and YouTube thing was one day while my mom was driving me to preschool. Every day I would read the paper and read off all the scores and the box scores.
Wait, time out. Every day you would read the paper on the way to...
Absolutely. It's basically how I learned to read and count, is looking at those numbers and reading the teams. So just one day my mom decided to record it to show to family or whatever, and she put it on YouTube and she started calling it Caden Center. And as time went on and I got older and was able to start, interviewing people and meeting people and talking more and more about sports, it just grew and grew into what it is now.
That is so amazing. Did you get pushback from some of these celebs and athletes going, oh, come on, 5 years old, 6 years old?
No, I think a lot of people have been so good to me, the people that I've asked. I think when I had like a squeakier voice, I was even cuter to people. They were like, oh yeah, this little kid's interviewing me. I love this. So no, everyone was so nice to me. All the people I've asked have said yes. I'm so grateful for it. And it's been a great experience.
Oh, that is so cool. How did you get in touch with them? I mean, like call their team, the management, or your mom obviously helping you?
Yeah, so a lot of it at the start was my mom used to work in minor league baseball, so she had a connection with a local team out here, the Inland Empire 66ers. So we started local in those minor league teams, my mom's connections. And then once you get kind of a resume built up, we found the contacts for certain athletes and celebrities we were able to ask and get connections and be able to interview them.
That is so cool. I mean, what a great experience for a young guy with a squeaky voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who loves sports. Were you doing that on a regular basis? I mean, you're doing like one or two a week or one a week, or just depends on who you could get to and when?
Yeah, it pretty much depended also with school and stuff scheduling around it. Usually the summers is in the past just when we've gone big because I don't have school. I can go out wherever, but we always are constantly asking for interviews. And if we get one, we'll absolutely go there and do it.
That is awesome. That really is cool. How fun. I mean, really, when you think about it, because it's one thing to watch them on TV. It's another thing to be in the stadium or the arena, whatever it happens to be, watching them. And it's another thing when you're holding that mic face to face and you're looking eye to eye and you're talking it through. Were you ever in a point where it's almost a little intimidation? Like you're going, I'm talking to,
I think
Trout.
Yeah, I think usually when like you first meet that person and like the walk up to them is that moment where I'm like, okay, well, I'm here with this guy, with this athlete. That's like the it moment, if you will. And then once you start getting to interview, you're just having a conversation and they're human just like you, and you really get into it. And yeah, you realize like you're standing in front of someone who people would die to meet.
What a great attitude, because it's because of what we do, and also I'm involved in music with playing drums and things like that. So I'm in a lot of different situations, and you are spot on because they're human. I mean, they're just like, they put the guys put their pants on one leg at a time, like me and you do, and it's just, it always amazes me how gracious they are. And I mean, most of them, I really can't think of anybody that was kind of a knucklehead, that I've had a chance to meet. They've all been nice, and they show interest in you and what you're doing. And I would think, especially with you, from a young age coming up, that these celebs and pro athletes and stuff would be going, wow, this is great, and wanting to encourage you, which is awesome, and move you on in this. And by the way, majoring, let me go back to something for just a sec. You're majoring in sports journalism and sports information. What's the difference between the two? Are they kind of one and the same?
It kind of goes all one in the same. Like, I obviously want to get into journalism and broadcasting, and then sports information. Like, there's sports information jobs out there that if I ever wanted to go to a different path besides broadcasting and journalism, I could go to that. But yeah, it's basically centered around, journalism, broadcasting, just media in general, really. Okay,
that's cool. Now, sports information, is that tabulating, results and stats and things like that, or is it broader than that?
It is mainly like working in athletics, like at a college, you have a sports information director, stuff like that. So that type of job is something that I would definitely look into if I ever wanted to switch from broadcasting and journalism. So it's in my major.
So you're actually somebody that is doing sports information, is providing information to the public, to the media, whatever it happens to be, about that team, about that sport, whatever. But you really lean towards broadcasting. How fun.
Yeah, broadcasting is just been a thing. It's so much fun to be able to talk about the game that's going on and build hype. So it's something I've definitely fallen in love with.
And, that's a key factor, building hype and having, coming up kind of with your own, like I think of Vince Scully, there'll never be another Vince Scully. And there was something about him and the way he approached talking about the game, and he'd interject things, and it wasn't like, oh, why doesn't he shut up and talk about the game? Because everything he, kind of put in there, you're going, yeah, okay, it added to it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's something when you as you go down that path that you probably have already started to develop it, just because you're doing the soccer games, which gives you great experience. What other sports are you doing on campus as far as doing announcing and stuff?
Yeah, so I did soccer this past, when that season was going on. It's currently basketball season, so I'm doing men's and women's basketball. I'm also in the spring going to do baseball. So pretty much basketball, baseball, and soccer are the big ones. And then I'm hoping to do football next year as well. So those are the main ones. So I'm getting a lot of experience and getting a lot of reps working with my college, which really helps.
Oh yeah, no, that's awesome. Are you getting feedback from people and like and here's a little fine tuning you might want to think about, Caden? You're getting any of that, or is it?
Yeah. It's definitely a learning. My sports information director, actually, like he did the broadcast before I came because there were no other students who wanted to do it. So he said some advice. We actually had LA Galaxy broadcaster Joe Tatino come down to call a game with me at the University of Redlands. So I was able to kind of pick his brain and ask about it. So yeah, it's all about, like, in the sports broadcasting business, you only get better by announcing and by getting your reps. So it's all working out pretty nicely.
That's cool. That's very cool. And especially to be able to have somebody else come in like that and almost in a, I'm going to loosely use the word mentor, but kind of mentoring you. And do you find yourself listening to other broadcasters and saying, I like that, or I don't like that? What I'm thinking about is my very first drum teacher. I was in high school, 17, and he was like the key drummer for the recording, session calls and all this stuff in the San Francisco Bay Area where I was raised. And I'll never forget one lesson. He said, "Hey, one more thing, Steve, before you leave. I want you to learn something from every drummer you hear." And I shot back right away going, "Oh, Bill, come on, man. Some of these guys couldn't beat their way out of a paper bag, a wet one." And he goes, "Dude, your attitude stinks." He said, "I want you to learn something from everybody." And he said, maybe it's the way they tune one drum. Maybe it's the one fill that they do. Maybe it's one riff on the cymbal. And maybe you learn something, you say, I wouldn't want to do that. But he said, be a lifelong learner. And I thought, what great advice. Because you can, if you have that attitude of learning, you can pick up little things here and there and say, yeah, I like that. I heard a guy interview Mel Gibson. And this guy, I think this guy's name was Anthony or Antonio or something. And it was just such a relaxed thing. There's only about 200 of us in this room. And Mel walks out, sits down, and this guy, sitting there. And it's just very casual. I mean, it's like me and you talking right now. This is just a conversation, Right. I'm glad we don't script it. And, we've already talked about, just kind of some things in advance to think about. But I learned so much from that guy. And I thought, I've got to find him someplace else because I want to listen to him the way he has a conversation, because it wasn't interviewed. He didn't have any papers that I could see. And I was probably 3 rows from the stage. But it was just that casual. So I imagine that's the kind of thing you're doing as well as you hear different people announcing games, broadcasting, whatever it is. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with how much sports I watch, like pretty much every night. So especially with the Lakers, Billy McDonald, Stu Lance, those guys are the Lakers. I listen to them a lot. And I think what's most intriguing is how each broadcaster has their own style. No two broadcasters call the game the same way. You have guys who really like to get the energy up. You guys who are kind of in the middle, more mellow, but they still try to emphasize the big moments. Obviously, like Mike Breen of ESPN, he's everywhere. So the idea that, because when a highlight play happens or legendary moment happens, it's always posted with the broadcasting and what they said. So you always want to for me, I always want to take it in and be like, okay, he said this in this moment, and that's what makes it even greater. So it's definitely every game. I'm always listening to the announcers. I'm not the type of person to put it on mute and just watch the game or whatever. So I'm constantly just taking what they're saying and then seeing how people on Twitter react. Like, oh, this guy's boring, this guy's entertaining, to see what works best.
Yeah, so you're just pulling it all in and putting it together. I have a relative that actually is a former pro football player for Pittsburgh, and he does announcing now. And it's just interesting because he's got his own personality. It's a different personality. He does a great job because he played the game. So he's got insight that maybe somebody who hasn't played. But I don't think that means you can't be a good announcer, even if you haven't played that sport. It's a science. You study it, you apply it. It's like anything else, learning and practicing. And you said something a couple minutes ago, which I think is just so spot on. You learn by doing it. You learn by doing it. It's like I tell my drum students, I'll say, you can practice, you can have just everything, all the rudiments down, you can never, but it's never going to come together until you sit down and you're playing with a band. That's when it's all going to come together. So same thing, I think similar applies to what you're doing. I mean, that's got to be so cool, calling soccer, calling basketball. Do you find that, I would think your personality transfers over on all of those, but do you find that you do something a little different with soccer than you would for basketball?
Yeah, they are pretty different sports, especially with soccer, because soccer, it's a continuous like 45-minute half, and there's not always action. Like even on air, like there's going to be dead air sometimes, because to just talk for 45 minutes straight is crazy. Sure. Compared to basketball, where every possession something is happening that is worth calling and making a call for. So it's definitely like a big switch up, and even with baseball too. Baseball is also more on the slower pace. So pretty much as the pace, depending on the pace of the game, is kind of where I switch on and off and change my energy, because you don't want someone yelling, going crazy for 45 minutes in a soccer game. You want to save it for the goal or a big moment. But in basketball, it's going to happen more often.
Yeah, no, absolutely. See, it's fascinating to me, just the science of what you're talking about and having to pivot. You know, I hesitate to use that word because I got so tired of hearing that word during COVID. You know, pivot. Okay, but no, you've got to switch it up. And it's like music. You know, you if I'm playing jazz music, you know, big band, that's going to be different than small group. That's going to be different than funk. That's going to be different than, you know, playing hand percussion. You know, you've got to make that adjustment, but you've got to be aware that there's an adjustment. Because I've heard some broadcasters, and you say, kind of, maybe you should think of something different to do. You're a nice guy or something, you know, but it's like, this is pretty lame, you know, and you almost feel like they haven't really, I guess when I've seen them, and not to be critical, but it's like they haven't really invested in, they don't know what's going on. They don't know the pace, you just nailed it. Pace for soccer is so different. You know, I mean, that's just constant versus baseball. Then you've got basketball, something totally different. And football has got to be different than everything else too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, football especially is so an element. And going back to the like not being engaged, I can like feel when a broadcaster isn't really invested in the game. Like I remember I was watching USC Notre Dame earlier, because I'm also a big USC fan. When they were playing, and the broadcaster, I think it was Jason Garrett and I think Chris Collinsworth's son or something, and like their energy wasn't as high. Like for me as a fan, I'm like, all right, this is USC versus Notre Dame. This is the biggest rivalry ever. And sometimes like things can feel a little bit down, and it kind of kills your hype, even if you're not like there at the stadium, you're just watching on your TV. So I feel like it's important to like build the hype and be invested, and because you can draw in fans, and then they'll get engaged to it. And that's when like sports are at their peak, when everyone's engaged, everyone's going at it, stuff like that.
I mean, 100%. I mean, when everybody's engaged, there's an energy, there's a level, there's something that's just, you know, there's that vibe that's happening. And I mean, that's the aha experience, if you will have it. You know, it's like everybody's engaged. And I think the announcer plays a big part in that.
Absolutely.
You know, I really do. Because, you know, when they haven't invested, good word to use, because it does take an investment of your time, your energy. You know, it's man, what a great thing to be part of. You know, you're getting such great experience. Now, you said something earlier that you took over. Was it for announcing for soccer because there was no other student that wanted to do it?
Yeah, the years leading up, there had been no one to announce really any of the sports. So the sports information director was doing it. So now I've kind of stepped into each sport and doing it. Interesting.
I can't imagine why a student wouldn't want to do it. Seriously, I mean, really,
no.
You know, why wouldn't you want to? You got the opportunity. If this is what you want to do, then you can start building, you know, the reps to put you in a good position to do it. Do you feel like I'm going to answer my own question. You're not worn out doing it because you're energetic when you're talking about it, and it probably energizes you, each sport, in a different way.
Yeah, I think being a broadcaster is as close as you can get to actually playing. Like you have as much of an impact on the product as you do the player. So it's like you're on the sideline. If you're calling a game, you're on PA. You're right close to the court. Yeah, and so that's what really helps me like be energetic and be engaged, because like I'm right here, and as someone who's played sports, I understand the energy and the adrenaline that gets going. So for an announcer to have that too, it can really pick things up.
Oh, you're so right. You know, with being right there, I used to help with a drum line of one of the local high schools where I live. And I loved being able to stand, I mean, so close to the sidelines during a football game, you know? And I mean, at times I felt like I could reach out and grab the ball. I didn't do that, of course, but you know, it's like, you're right there. And it doesn't, to me, it's like, it doesn't get any better than this.
Right.
I mean, what better way to spend a Friday night? I mean, to be there, to be with students, to be right there with the game and the energy. And you're just, you know, there's nothing like that.
Yeah, there really isn't. It's basically like a free courtside seat, to be honest. You just have to talk about the game. And if you love the game, if you love what you're doing, it's like the best job because you're right there. You're sitting courtside. You're watching the game on the sidelines. It's perfect.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's so cool. And you're helping people there to have a good time. Because if you're like bored, like, okay, well, I better say something, you know, I'm going to take a little nap here, you know, whatever. But you're right there. You can have a lot to do with the energy of the audience. Obviously not the teams, but because they're not really, I don't think they're really tuning in. I was thinking back to when I was playing, you're not tuned into who's announcing, you're tuned into what's going on, what play is next and all that kind of stuff. But you can have a huge impact, and what great experience, you know, to put in your file of experience. I mean, now you've appeared on Nickelodeon, you've been on Fox Valley Sports West and CBS Sports Central. How did these things happen? And was the topic the same in each, or was it different?
Yeah, so the Nickelodeon thing, I was on the TV show All In with Cam Newton, which basically it was dual with Cam Newton. He took kids who knew what they wanted to do with their careers and helped them and gave them an experience. So the context of that was just I was able to meet Daryl Evans, who does radio for the LA Kings. Nice. Get in some work with him. I think it was, UCLA was practicing their hockey team, so I did some practice reps, practice interviews. So that was the context for that. For the Bali Sports, it was an interview on Angels Weekly. They had like kid reporters, so I was able to do that. I interviewed Jason Grilly. And then CBS Sports Central was really like so special because they were originally doing a piece on the bear drive I do. But then the guy that was doing it, Chris Hayrie, he was like, okay, you have this whole YouTube show about sports, you talk about sports, you interview them. So they kind of did a side story about that. And then they invited me to go to their studio at Morongo where they were filming that live episode. And I was able to go on and talk some sports with them, which was a big moment because like live TV, that's as big as it gets. So each situation, I got there in a different way, but they were each so good and gave me so much experience and a lifetime memory for sure.
Oh, that is so cool. I mean, all of those memories, but those experiences. And again, it all goes in. It's going into that file. It's going into that book. It's going into that, you know, and you'll pull from that. You'll use that. And did they just kind of contact you out of, you know, like out of nowhere? Or was it based on something you were doing, I guess?
Yeah, for CBS Sports Central, they were actually covering my grandpa making the CIF Hall of Fame. And that's how we got introduced to Chris Hayrie. And then he heard about the Bear Drive and he heard about the YouTube. So things happen in crazy ways. I mean, my grandpa, like I said, Hall of Fame high school baseball coach. So there's connections there. My mom, like I said, was working minor league baseball. Yeah. So a lot of times they hear about my family member, they hear about me, they see what I do, and they're impressed enough to bring me on their show or have me interview someone.
That, you know, it's awesome how things come together like that, you know, I mean, because stuff, I know for me, and it sounds like for you too, stuff just comes out of the blue. It's just kind of like, whoa, yeah, of course, you know, I didn't know that, you know, it's, yeah, sure. When that happens, it's like, no, I don't think so, you know, you're kind of like, I don't want to say yes too quickly, you know, sometimes I do that, and it's a dumb game. It's like, just say yes, you know you're going to do it. They want you to do it. Just, you know, just get it over with and do that. Okay, 7 years ago, you were hospitalized. What happened? Why?
Yeah, so I had a minor stomach GI issue that had kind of been nagging at me and had a couple flare-ups throughout pretty much my whole life almost. And they were finally kind of to get to the bottom of it and to solve it all, I had to be in the hospital for 4 days. It all worked out. I got better. I'm healthy now. But it was definitely a interesting experience. Spend 4 days in a hospital in order to get all that settled.
So you didn't have to have surgery then. It was more medical attention and adjusting things and giving you some, but even still, you know, it's 4 days is a long time. Yeah. I mean, it really is. The most I've ever, you know, it was a day, you know, it was a day at two different times, but I can't imagine, 4 days.
Yeah, it felt like 40 for
Yeah,
real.
I'll bet
It
did.
was at first when people asked like recently when or not recently when I first got out of the hospital, people would ask I'd be like, yeah, I was in there for a week, and then my mom would be like, it was only 4 days, and I was like, oh wow, okay, because that just felt like forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's 4 days going on 4 months, man. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
right.
just, I mean, seriously, it's just, oh, that's crazy. And I know for me, like when I go to see a relative or a friend or whatever in the hospital, I don't even like the smell. There's just
No.
that antiseptic, I don't want to
Yeah.
touch anything. And I hope I don't get anything because I'm, walking in here and, you can only watch so much TV. And,
Sure.
I mean, it's just, and laying there and then having, I've heard some people say, oh, about a relative of mine. Well, yeah, it's nice to have a vacay in the hospital and eat what you want. Hey, it ain't no vacay, okay?
No.
I mean, they're poking you and prodding you in the middle of the night. Turn over. We're going to take blood. We're going to do this. Or,
Yeah.
that kind of a thing. It's not a vacay. It's like, okay, you think it is. You go and you experience because
Right.
that ain't the truth. It's. Well, I'm glad that you didn't have to have surgery. I'm glad they were able to correct, the problem, and you haven't had any issues since then. I take it.
No, it's been all good.
Oh, that's cool. Special diet or anything, or just?
Yeah, well, actually, part of it was we didn't even know it at the time because the blood work came back inconclusive. But years later, we found out I have celiac disease. So that's a pretty big dietary restriction. You just can't eat gluten, think like wheat bread, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's mainly what it is. That was contributing to the problem, wasn't like all of it. But that's what I do now, and I've been healthy since doing that. So that's been a bit of an adjustment, but it's where we are now to keep me healthy. So I'm good with it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I remember a couple of years ago, my doctor saying, hey, did you know, did the blood test, blah, blah, and, you're borderline diabetic. And I go, oh, didn't know it. You're the doc. Tell me, and
Right.
I think we need to look at medication. I said, doc, you know me better than that. I don't like putting junk in my body, And he said, well, there's two options, the meds or losing weight, I said, I'll take the second one, and he said, okay, we're going to check, here, I forget what it was, 2-3 months or whatever. I come back, he goes, whoa, you lost the weight. I said, to me, that's better than the med stuff,
Absolutely.
And just, I'll adjust the way I eat, just to be healthy. Because if you're not, I mean, you miss out on announcing a game or, whatever it is, that's so cool. But now once you get out of the hospital, I'm going to use kind of a phrase. It's like you kind of wanted to pay it forward. And so you raised money for a gaming console. Where did that console go?
Yeah, so the story kind of originated with when I was in the hospital. I was able to get one of the gaming consoles, and we had someone else in the room with us, roommate, and we decided to give it to them because I wasn't using it. And they were like, and the nurses came in, they were like, oh, wow, you gave that away. We don't have any more to give you. Like, we can't give you another one. We were like, okay, that's whatever. But that's when we realized they kind of told us there was like a shortage of gaming consoles and stuff like that for kids to use. So when we got out, we were like, well, okay, we want to help out some kids in the hospital, of course. Sure. We were there 4 days or as longer than me.
Yeah.
So we raised the money for them to be able to buy the gaming consoles and give them to kids who are staying in the hospital because it's a good way to entertain them and just take them away from the chaos that's going on.
Sure. Now, when you say give them to kids, is that something that they use when they're there, something they take with them, or both?
Use when they're there, and then it just stays at the hospital and is used by whoever's in the rooms.
See, I didn't realize that because I haven't been to see a little kid or whatever child in the hospital. Is that typical? Do a lot of hospitals do that, or is it becoming more popular? Or
yeah, I think obviously as technology, every kid loves an iPad or whatever, or a gaming console. I think it's definitely become more prevalent. But yeah, that was my first experience in a children's hospital when I was there. And that's when I quickly learned, like, okay, like even, they're caring for kids and there's always going to be a need for something. And so that's what we really wanted to do was fill the need once we learned of all the things that you can do to help and support the hospital.
What an encouraging thing for a kid that's there, you were there. Yeah. You had the gaming console, and it is, technology is, it's life, it's breath. Sometimes it's a little too consuming, and I even have to admit, it's like, learn to put the do not disturb on my phone, turn it over because I can start trolling social going, oh, and there goes 20 minutes. It's like, it's not bad necessarily, but there's better ways to use your time. But when you're in a hospital like that, to have that available, and it's cool that, staff at the hospital saw this, noticed what you did, and then said, hey, we could use some of these. That's way cool. Now, you made a switch the following 3 years, if I remember the story right.
Yeah.
Raising money for teddy bears.
Yeah. So the teddy bear thing also has an origin of in the hospital. When I was there, like the minute before we left, because we figured when I went to the hospital, I was going to be in there for a couple of days. My mom brought one of my teddy bears with me. And we brought it to the hospital, and it was kind of a comfort thing, and also kind of break the ice, because I remember the nurses coming and they'd be like, oh, what's that bear's name? Does the bear want to get his blood drawn? Stuff like that, just to distract me. And teddy bears, obviously, like, they're comforting. They're like, there's something about them that just really help you. So after the year of the gaming console, we had a little bit more time to think about it. We were like, we could do a teddy bear drive, and we were able to manage all that, get it all together, reach out to local businesses and who were able to help out and be drop-off spots for bears. And the community really just came together and rallied behind it. And it became this like great thing that like we were able to help out the hospital. So the teddy bears are a big thing, and definitely like the main part of what we're doing, because it's what helped me stay busy in the hospital and comfort me. So hopefully it can comfort other kids. And with each teddy bear, unlike the gaming consoles, they're able to bring them home, and it's kind of they're that thing, kind of a memory of like, this is what we overcame. This thing helped me. So there's a nice aspect too with that.
No, that's, because the question I kept thinking about is why bears? I mean, not that there's anything wrong with bears. This is the first time I've ever said this in some kind of a media broadcast thing, but I still have my Smokey the Bear, my teddy bear from when I was like a real little guy,
Yeah.
And I mean, and I thought about that. I hadn't thought about Smokey for a while, but when I was preparing, our conversation to have this conversation, and I thought, I still have Smokey, of course. And he always comforted me. And I in fact, I think I got to find where he is, and I'm going to pull him out, based on our conversation. He's going to go on my bed. So there he is.
There you go.
And it's true. I mean, something little like this. Now, COVID hit.
Yeah.
And teddy bears were no bueno. I mean, it was like, you can't bring, which is really, it's sad. I mean, I get it, whatever, but they were no longer accepted. So what did you do at that point?
Yeah, so even with COVID and the pandemic, unable to do bears, we still wanted to continue giving back to the hospital and helping. So we decided, we asked them, first of all, like, are there any needs? Is the gaming console a need again? Like, what else is there? And they said, sure, something that would be big would be iPads, because again, that's technology, something to distract them. So once again, we raised money, we, publicized it, reached out, businesses helped promote it. And we were able to raise money for iPads that then the kids could use during their stay. Nice. Very similar to the gaming console. It was something that we could do despite COVID and everything going on around, because we really did want to keep this going, because we know we're helping people that are in need of it, and we didn't want to let COVID stop that after COVID stopped so much.
No, that's awesome. Kate, we got to make sure to tell people about Caden's Teddy Bears for Kids. How can other people get involved in it?
Yeah, so if you want to get involved, donate a bear, you can just go to my page, Caden_Center. There's a flyer pin that has all the drop-off details, places you can order bears if you're not near the Redlands area, to order them, to have them donated to the hospital. So if you want to get involved, just look at my page. There's all the details, and one bear can go a long way. And we've collected over 1,000 so far. We're hoping to get another 300, 400 this year. So it's always great to give back to the hospital, and everyone can contribute, because a bear is it's not a crazy expensive thing to do. It's just $5-10. You do it, you help out a kid, and that's worth $1 million. So it really works out.
Oh, I mean, it's so amazing, because it's a life changer. It's a life changer for that kid in the hospital while they're there. Give us that information, Ian, because I think this is the coolest thing that you're doing. It's amazing. Yeah,
so just go to Caden_Center, this Instagram, and the flyer is there in the page, has all the drop-off locations, including spots you can order, because obviously we know everyone's not local to Redlands.
Sure.
And you can order, you can get them as part of the drive and be donated to the hospital, and you can make a kid's day pretty much.
That's so cool. Well, and we have an international audience, so who knows what's going to happen? Somebody over in Europe may say, oh, I'm digging this thing. This is I'm
There
stoked.
you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, I mean, I really, when I saw the story on the news, in fact, a friend of mine sent it to me, and I thought, gotta have you, because what you're doing is, I mean, it's significant, especially in the world in which we live, where everything is so crazy upside down. And it's I used to be a news junkie, and now I got away from it. I've kind of gotten it back, but it's like, where's something positive? Where's something encouraging? And when I saw that clip about you, I thought, this is 100%. I mean, it's right there. Caden, why is it important to give back and pay it forward like you've done with the teddy bears and the iPads and the gaming consoles? Why is that important?
I think it's important because, and I've learned this, it kind of connects back to my interviews, is like all the people that said yes and gave me an opportunity to grow my career, and the people in the hospital that helped me. And I remember the impact that they had on me. Yeah. So the idea that you can return the favor and impact somebody in that way is really important. And I feel like when a community comes together and we're all supporting each other, it can really create something special, like the teddy bear drive, like how the community around me has been able to help impact kids and give them something special while they're in the hospital. So I think just the idea of that, being able to come together, give back, give them the feeling that you once felt, can really help it, and it just makes everything better.
Oh, that is, what you just said is so gold. It's so gold to make them feel better, something you experienced. And if we would just do that, I guess in a sense, take our eyes off ourselves, look around and see what's there, and, do something that will make them feel better. That's huge. I mean, and it doesn't have to be a big something. In the case of teddy bears, you're talking $5-10, but it could be something else too. I mean, it can be anything that you think would make them feel better, that would pull the community together, which I think is very cool that you've been able to do. I mean, your community, where you live, where you're at, where this is happening, has come together, has come alongside you, and in a sense, lifting up your arms, going, we like this. We want to be a part of this. And again, that's when I saw the clip on the news. I thought, we want to be a part of this, helping to get the word out about what you're doing and how you're doing it, and encouraging people to be a part of it. Once again, I want you to give that information, how people can get involved, because this is so important.
Yes, again, you can just go to my Instagram page, Caden_center. There's a pinned flyer that has all the details. If you're local to the Redlands, California area, there are drop-off locations you can go to. If you're not, there are places you can call in, order bears to have put in our boxes that go donate to the hospital. So no matter where you are, where you're from, you can get involved and help kids.
Awesome. Now, when will the kids get these bears?
The bears are delivered on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Oh, that's even cooler. I mean, especially, I can't even imagine being in the hospital on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day.
Yeah. I can't imagine like the pain. That's the one time you just want to be at your home. So the idea that the teddy bears act like as a Christmas gift too, in a sense, because they're not at home. So it's something that's comforting, and obviously Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, it's a time where you should be celebrating, you should be happy. So the teddy bears contribute to that.
Now, who delivers them?
The hospital does. We deliver them to the hospital the week before Christmas, and then their staff throughout Christmas Eve and Christmas Day actually give them to the kids. Sometimes in years where it's possible, they'll have like one kid come out that we can give just so we can see their smile in person. But they always send us these pictures of the kids smiling with the bears and looking so happy. And that's just kind of like the full circle moment. Like, this is worth it. This is why we do it, to make those kids happy. So the staff does give them out and sends us all the pictures and stuff so we can see the impact we had.
Oh, that's golden. That is absolutely golden. And, I think it's interesting to have the staff delivering them, because that gives them another, a little further adventure into the heart of that child, we're giving you shots or taking blood, whatever it is we're doing, but we also have this for you.
Yeah, and that's something I want to emphasize. The staff are the real heroes. They're the real people. I remember when I was at Loma Linda, the nurses were just so nice, so helpful. There's not one bad person at Loma Linda University Children's Hospital. Genuinely, they're all so kind. And so, yeah, for the staff to be able, to give them out, the nurses, I think it really does help that because they're the real heroes and they're the ones who take care of the kids. So it is special for them to be able to deliver them too.
Oh, no, it really is. That's super. I mean, that's incredible. Hey, thanks for taking time. I know we kind of put this together quickly. I appreciate you making the time. And we want to be kept informed about what you're doing,
sure.
And let us know if you're doing other things and how we can be involved, how we can support it. And maybe I'll get to hear you call a game sometime,
For sure.
Say, hey, remember me? Good job. Oh, I like it. You got your own person, And I mean, when you're like in the pro, I'm going to be able to look back and say, I got to talk to him when he was laying the found. No, it's great to meet you. Great to get to know you. And we'll have to stay in contact. And again, keep us informed if you're doing things and let us know that. It's great. The whole package, of what you're doing and the idea of making a difference. That's we're really big about that with You Talk. It's like we talk about going mad, are you making a difference? And there's so many different ways to make a difference. And teddy bears is a new big one that we will be pushing from here on out. So thanks, Caden. We really appreciate you kicking it with us and taking some time to be on You Talk, and we'll be in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me a chance to spread the word about it. I really appreciate it.
No, it's our pleasure, man. It's our pleasure.
This is You Talk Radio.